Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Today I'm going to be showing you how arbitrage operators are scaling from 10 to 100k per month. So there was a point in time when I started my business, way back now, over about 5.5, 6 years ago. I scaled that to doing about 8k a month on Amazon, and I genuinely thought I'd made it right. I went from nothing, zero, had £500 to my name. I was working in the bakery in Sainsbury's, all the way to making 5k, then 6k, then all the way to 8k. And I ended up quitting my job. I got a warehouse, a very small warehouse / office space, some storage units, and money was coming in. And from the outside, it looked like I'd cracked the e-commerce code, but behind the scenes, that really wasn't the reality. I was exhausted and I was constantly chasing the next best thing, products all the time, constantly repricing, and always just in a scarcity mindset. And one bad month could literally wipe out weeks of progress. So if you're doing 8, 10, 20, whatever it may be, $1,000, pounds or whatever, doing arbitrage right now, then this video is for you. My name's Adam. I've done $3.3 million in the past 12 months with 2 of my e-commerce businesses combined. And I've been in the e-commerce space for almost 6 years. And today, in this video, I'm gonna be walking you through the exact shift to which I've taken to go from the point where you may be at right now, and what I just mentioned, being at that 8k, 15k, 20k per month mark, and understanding that I was still playing small, and how a simple mindset change can simply turn your business around and get you to that 100, 200, 300k per month mark. So without further ado, let's get into it. I've created a little PowerPoint presentation for you. Why listen to me first of all? I've scaled, like I said, I went from zero to £500 to millions and millions and millions of pounds in e-commerce sales. Okay, I started about 5.5 to 6 years ago. I've been there and I've done it. I've been in that operator trap. I started about 6 years ago, right? And I started doing arbitrage and wholesale, buying and reselling. Didn't own the product, had all them issues. And then I pivoted 3 years ago to doing private label, which I'm going to be speaking about in this video. I have my own warehouse in the UK. I have 5 members of staff. I hit £55,000, so it's about $70,000 in profit in just the 1 month, in the month of December 2025. I can live where I want at the moment. I'm in Bali, Indonesia, and I've also helped many people do the exact same. So when you hit your first 10k month in arbitrage, let's be honest, it feels unreal. Even your first sale obviously feels unreal, but your first 10k is truly a milestone. You figured out your sourcing, you now understand Keeper, you now understand graphs, you know how to read charts and things like this, and you maybe have a prep center, or maybe a VA and stuff, and revenue's coming in nicely, right? And you feel like you have control almost. But what really slowly starts to happen is that you need more SKUs to grow. You need more ASINs and more products all of the time. Your capital's always tied up as well. The slow payments from Amazon, the margins start tightening from all the competition coming on the listings and stuff, price drops. Life's frustrating for you, right? Let's be honest. And you realize that you're working harder than you've ever worked before, but your leverage hasn't changed. Perhaps your income has gone up, yeah, but not that much realistically. As much as you probably liked it to, okay? And you're working more than ever, but your leverage has not changed, I've put here. You're still dependent on other people's brands, other people's listings, other people's products, the buy box rotation. Whoa. You're relying on everything. There's so many variables that you're relying on and that you have to sort of adhere to. And at 10k per month, 15k per month, doing this strategy, I felt rich, but I was building a treadmill. The harder I ran, the faster I just kept running. Here's the month that really woke me up. I was really struggling way back, about 3.5 years ago, maybe 4 now. I've put here, there was a month where I lost 10 grand in a single month. And yes, I did. I lost it on fake SD cards from rushing into some stuff. This was the month that really woke me up, because what happened before that? 2 months before that, Amazon did a fee increase. And doing arbitrage and stuff and wholesale, you don't really get to just put your prices up. So my margin just dipped. But what happened again? The month later, some weird reason, Amazon did 2 fee increases consecutively in 2 months. And I was cooked. I was really cooked after that. And then the third month this happened. Like, it was really detrimental, and it put me in a pretty bad place, and that really woke me up. It wasn't glamorous and it wasn't motivational. It was super, super stressful. The fact that I managed to come out the other side of it is I'm super grateful for, but it was a tough time. All the issues, the price wars, I was trying to build the price back up, all that stuff, but it just wasn't good. And that was the moment that it clicked. I wasn't building a business, really. I was just reselling and relying on other people. I was building cash flow inside somebody else's ecosystem, and there's nothing wrong with doing this, right? Doing arbitrage, wholesale, it can work, and it worked for me. It actually got me out of my 9-to-5 job. How awesome is that? Like, it's awesome, and there's a place for it, right? And it can work, and it does work. It teaches you, as Amazon, how to sell on Amazon. It teaches you basic business fundamentals, but that's it. It's not going to help you. Well, in rare cases it could, but like, generally speaking, it's not going to help you get to huge numbers, like big business numbers, to the point where you can travel the world, to the point where you can buy flashy things or go on luxury holidays or things like this, right? It's not really going to get you to that point. It builds a little bit of capital, but it does have a ceiling. And most sellers get stuck, right? Well, I've gone past my pages. It has a ceiling. Most sellers do not realize they hit it until they feel stuck. So the question that changed everything for me, instead of asking what the next best product was that I could flip, I simply just started asking, what would it look like if I owned that listing? I had control, because I used to see people like private label sellers all the time, right? They used to be like, if you're an arbitrage or wholesale seller, when you go into a listing and it's like, you're seeing there's only one seller there, it's selling very well. You're like, oh wow, I wish I was that person. That's exactly what I was like. I was like, well, imagine if that was me. How can I do that? How can I start becoming that person? And that was the beginning of my shift into private label. And to be honest, to begin with, it was very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Like, my revenue dipped from like the arbitrage and wholesale side, primarily wholesale. Like, it dipped, not significantly, but like a decent amount, a noticeable amount for sure, because I was focusing a lot of time onto private label, and there was many things that I had to learn and think about. There's larger MOQs sometimes, compliance requirements, branding decisions, like how am I going to launch the product, inventory planning, like all of this stuff, and putting more money into inventory, ad costs, all that stuff, right? And I also failed a few times too, but luckily all that isn't a problem for me now, because I have such a simple framework which I walk through, and also walk my clients through as well. Like, luckily, like, that's not an issue anymore, but back then, like, it was so uncomfortable and so hard. And yeah, I'm glad I have this framework now, but arbitrage basically feels safer because you can exit fast. Like, you can buy that product and sell it in like a couple of weeks, but really you can't truly exit. And when I say exit, you can't sell your business. That's what exiting actually means. So it's like, yeah, you're exiting from selling the product as quick as you can, but like, you can't actually sell your business. If you stop working and you stop sourcing, then your income stops. But private label, you can actually do that. You can have hands-off business, and you can actually sell your business for something. And private label does feel a little bit heavier because you are committing a little bit more, but that's also where the leverage comes from. And also, like, if it was easy, everyone would do it, right? Wouldn't they? So what changed when I moved into private label? The product itself that I sourced to begin with wasn't magical, wasn't crazy. But the difference was structural, right? For the first time ever, right? I controlled the listing, I controlled the price, the supply, the margin, all of that. And there was no buy box fights, no random sellers jumping on my listings or anything like this. So, that was a huge benefit. And obviously, like, no headache from all that stuff, but they did come with other headaches, obviously. I was no longer hoping on suppliers stayed in stock, because I was actually building direct relationship with the manufacturer anyway. Instead of chasing opportunities, I lost my train of thought there, because this Grab driver keeps calling me on my phone. Maybe my girlfriend will answer the door. So my stress went down ultimately. My margin stabilized and reinvestment became predictable. It was not about one viral SKU. It was about stacking controlled advantages inside a single category and expanding from there. So what made the jump from 50 to 300K? When I was at 40 to 60K range, right, it felt really, really volatile because I did scale arbitrage to a pretty good number. Like the 10K, 15K got me out my job, but like, you know, when I was out my job, I was doing 40 to 60, maybe even 70K months, and it did feel real volatile. There were good months and bad months, but ultimately pressure was constant. The breakthrough wasn't really finding a better product, it was building a brand properly. And that meant improving the offer, improving in the positioning, protecting the brand and layering TikTok on top of Amazon and not just solely relying on Amazon, solely relying on one channel. Today we list on 5 different platforms: Amazon, TikTok, eBay, Shopify and Temu. All of that, TikTok became the demand engine that creates new customers. And ads were used to amplify what was already working instead of gambling on unproven products. Super awesome that we have all these different platforms now to this day. So good, and you need to be on all of them really in this day and age. So instead of competing inside other people's listings, I owned my own listing, and that is when revenue stopped recessing every month and actually started compounding. And this is exactly how you move from feeling successful at 15K to realizing that 300K months are possible. Super possible, honestly. It took me 3.5 years to go from 50, 60K months to 300K months, which is crazy. And it's not about working harder really, it's just about controlling more. So let's talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of private label versus arbitrage. And let's be honest, private label isn't easier. Everybody would do it if it was easier. It is definitely harder. Like, why would you want something which is easy anyway? Like everybody's just going to do it, and it will be so significant amount of competition. It requires more capital up front for sure, a slower initial momentum, and there can be some complexity when you're trying to comply with things and things like this, okay? So definitely more things to think about, but it does bring you higher margins. It brings you listing control, brand protection, multi-channel expansion, and long-term asset value, so you can actually sell your business. Like, I can actually sell my business for, I think, around $1 million to this day. I could get $1 million cash when my business 3.5 years ago was worth zero. How crazy is that, right? Private label can be slower to begin with, but it is better for sure. Everything scale better, and if your goal is lifestyle, cash flow, arbitrage can do that. But like, if your goal is scalable, sellable business and location, financial freedom, ownership and private label is the path. So how arbitrage operators make the jump? The sellers who scale, right, from 10 to 100K are not shutting down their arbitrage overnight. Just want to make that clear. You're not going to be shutting down what you currently do, unless you can afford to, and invest all your time into it. But realistically, you're not going to. You're going to be keeping stuff running on the side and using it as fuel, as cash flow to invest into your private label stuff. Most people pick one category, understand it deeply, launch one private label SKU properly, and validate the economics, and then reinvest and expand and grow from there. They don't just launch 5 random products at once or multiple products. They make one control move, okay? And arbitrage then becomes the training ground. Private label becomes the engine from there, okay? So the biggest identity shift that you're going to have to take on board, the biggest difference is that it's not tactical. It's a true identity. At 10K, you literally think like a flipper. At 100K, you think like an owner. At 10K, you chase margins. At 100K, you defend margins. At 10K, you depend on systems. At 100K, you build systems. That's what's the evolution that I personally went through, okay? So if you're at 8K, 12K, 15K, and you think you've made it, you haven't, right? You're just closer to the beginning than the end. If you're ready to start making that move from flipping products to building something that you actually own, click the link down below in the description. We have a whole step-by-step framework which makes things easy. Like I said, I don't even have to think about all the complexities anymore, because I have a simple 5-step framework which I follow when I'm launching any product at all. And it's the exact system that I've used to scale from operator level to building a 7-figure empire doing $3.3 million per year. You know what to do. Click the link down below. And if you're unsure whether you're ready to make that shift, go over to my Instagram as well. Drop me a little message and just see if you think that you're ready to go for it. We can have a little message exchange and I'll honestly tell you whether you are or you're not, because some people aren't ready to make that shift. So like I said, click the link down below. Let's see if we can work together. And also like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.